I never believed a single moment could tear open 20 years of peace I had built in my life. But that moment came on the day that was supposed to be the happiest for my daughter. It happened at her wedding, right when the music softened, right when guests were settling into their seats after the ceremony, right when I thought life had finally given me a chance to breathe. I had spent months preparing for that day, cleaning the farm, selling 2 cows just to help with expenses, working late nights to make sure everything looked perfect for her. She's my only daughter, my heart, my pride, my second chance at life after losing my wife 10 years ago. That morning, I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual, adjusting my tie, smoothing my jacket, telling myself not to cry in public. I wanted to look strong for her. I wanted to look like a father who had done everything right. And for a while, it felt like I had. Her smile when she walked down the aisle, the way she squeezed my hand, the tears in her eyes when I whispered, "Your mother would have been proud." I thought that was the moment I'd remember forever. But life has a strange sense of timing. It hides storms inside celebrations. Because just a few hours later, when the dinner was being served, when people were laughing and clapping and dancing, the man she married, my new son-in-law, walked up to me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, a smile that told me he had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Dad," he said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear, "I think today is the perfect day to talk about the farm." At first, I didn't understand. The farm? Why now? Why at his own wedding? But before I could answer, he continued, "I need the keys. You know, the farm's mine now, since I'm family." He said it casually, like he was asking for a napkin, but his eyes were sharp, cold, hungry. Around us, people froze. Cutlery stopped moving. Chairs stopped shifting. Music suddenly felt too loud. My daughter's smile faded, and she stared at him like she couldn't believe what was coming out his mouth. I tried to keep my voice calm. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "The farm is not something we discuss in the middle of your wedding." But he leaned forward, placed a hand on my shoulder, and whispered just loud enough, "Well, if you won't hand it to me, maybe your daughter and I should rethink how we build our future. We'll need stability, security, and your farm provides both." My heart went cold. He wasn't asking. He was demanding, blackmailing me at my daughter's wedding. And then he made the mistake that exposed everything. He raised his voice again and said, "So, the keys. Give them to me. Everyone here knows you owe us that much." People stared at him with disbelief, but he didn't notice. He was too busy revealing the truth he had been hiding for months. The truth about why he married my daughter. The truth about the man he really was. And as everyone watched, as silence wrapped around the tables, I felt something inside me shift. This wasn't just selfishness. This wasn't just greed. This was a betrayal. And I knew, in that exact moment, that I wasn't going to let him get away with it. Not today. Not ever. To understand why his words cut so deeply, you need to know the story behind my farm and the story behind the boy who married my daughter. My farm isn't big. It isn't famous. It isn't filled with machines or fancy tools. But it is everything I have. It's the land my father left me and his father before him. It's where my daughter took her first steps. Where my wife planted her favorite apricot tree. Where every memory I cherish still lives. People think land is just dirt, but to some of us, it's our soul. And I protected that soul with everything I had. When my daughter brought her future husband home for the first time, I didn't judge him. Not even when he avoided eye contact. Not even when he kept asking questions about my property. I thought he was simply curious. My daughter loved him. That was enough for me. But over time, little things bothered me. Like how he always talked about investments, yet never held a job longer than a few months. Or how he complimented the house, but never my daughter's cooking or her art. Or how he always made jokes like, "One day, when we move into your farm," or "You're lucky we'll take care of your land when you get old." I thought they were jokes. I wanted to believe they were jokes. But my brother, God rest his soul, warned me once. Some people don't marry for love. They marry for opportunity. I didn't want to believe that either. Then, a month before the wedding, the boy asked me directly, "So, what are your plans with the farm now that we're getting married?" Just like that, as if marriage was a business deal. I answered politely, "The farm stays with me, and after I'm gone, it goes to my daughter, but only her. It's a family rule." I expected him to respect that. He didn't. In fact, his smile faded. He excused himself immediately, and for the rest of the evening, he barely looked at me. I should have seen it then. I should have trusted my instincts. But my daughter loved him, and I couldn't bear the idea of breaking her heart, so I stayed silent. I stood beside her at the engagement party. I helped them buy furniture. I even took a loan to pay for part of the wedding. Every time I felt something was wrong, I told myself, maybe he will grow, maybe he will change. People don't change. They simply become more of who they already are. And when he demanded my farm keys in front of every guest at the wedding, he didn't become a new person. He simply revealed the person he had always been. The wedding hall suddenly fell quiet, not because the music stopped, but because everyone could feel the tension between us. My daughter grabbed her husband's arm and whispered sharply, "What are you doing? Stop." But he shrugged her off like she was a child pulling at his sleeve. "Your father knows what he promised," he said loudly. "Promised?" I felt the heat rise in my chest. "When did I ever promise you anything?" I asked. He smirked. "Oh, come on. Let's not pretend. You told us the farm is my wife's future, and I'm her husband. That means it's our future." People around us started whispering, some in disbelief, some in disapproval. One of my cousins muttered, "This boy has lost his mind." Another said, "He planned this. He waited for the perfect moment." And they were right. He didn't choose a private conversation. He didn't choose a quiet moment. He wanted an audience. He wanted pressure. He wanted to embarrass me into giving him what he wanted. He stepped closer, invading my space. "If you care about our stability, you'll give the keys now. We're moving in next week. I've already told people." I clenched my fists. "You've told who?" I asked. He laughed. "Buyers, partners, people who will help upgrade the farm. You're old-fashioned. You don't understand modern business." "But I do." I stared at him. "You already made deals behind my back?" "Of course," he said. "Someone has to think about the future. You should be grateful." "Grateful? For someone trying to steal the work of 3 generations?" My daughter's face turned pale. "You talk to buyers? Without my knowledge? Without my father's knowledge?" He didn't even look at her when he answered, "Baby, it's for us. You'll thank me later. Your father should be helping, not blocking our plans." She stepped back like she didn't recognize him. And maybe she didn't. Sometimes the ring changes nothing. It simply reveals what was already hiding under the surface. I took a deep breath. "I'm giving nothing today." I said calmly, "This is your wedding, not a land negotiation." But instead of listening, he raised his glass and, with a mocking laugh, shouted, "To new beginnings, to our farm, to a future built with what your father refuses to let go." The hall gasped. That's when I knew this was not immaturity. This was calculation. He wanted to publicly claim my land. So if I refused, I would look selfish, heartless, old, unfair. But the crowd didn't react the way he expected. People didn't cheer. Nobody lifted their glass. Instead, everyone saw him, truly saw him. The greed, the entitlement, the disrespect. And that's when the whispers began. This wedding will not end well. He's trouble. He doesn't love her. He loved the farm. Poor girl. My daughter's eyes filled with tears, and something inside me broke. This was no longer about land. This was about protecting my child from a man who saw her as a stepping stone. And I knew the time for silence was over. If the story had ended there, awkward moment, embarrassed guests, a foolish groom, I could have forgiven him. But he pushed further, too far. After the toast, he took the microphone from the DJ without asking. He tapped it twice, smiled at the guests, and said, "Everyone, I want to make a special announcement about our future home, our new farm. My heart stopped. My daughter whispered, "Please don't." But he ignored her. He continued, "For years, her father has held on to that land alone. But now, with our marriage, it becomes part of our new life. We'll modernize it, rebuild it, make it profitable. And, of course, I'll be managing everything." People exchanged uncomfortable glances. Some shook their heads. An elderly aunt covered her mouth in shock. Then he said the line that made my blood turn to ice. "I've already discussed selling part of it next month to cover our honeymoon and some personal plans. I mean, why should land just sit there when it could help us start strong?" My daughter gasped. "You what?" "You talked about selling," she shouted. Her voice echoed across the hall, and the microphone amplified every bit of her pain. He frowned. "Lower your voice. Don't embarrass me." "Embarrass you?" she snapped. "You embarrass yourself. You embarrass both of us." But he didn't back down. Instead, he walked up to me again and held out his hand. "Keys. Now!" The hall watched. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't ashamed. He was certain that he had control, certain that he had cornered me, certain that I would fold to save my daughter from public humiliation. But instead, something inside me hardened. I looked him straight in the eyes. "Son," I said, "you are standing on a stage built by other people's sacrifices, and you think one wedding ring gives you permission to take what you did not earn." He scoffed. "Old man, step aside. Times have changed." But then, right as he leaned closer, his best man grabbed his arm. "Dude, stop. You're making a fool of yourself." He jerked away. "No, this is my right." He was shaking now, frustration bubbling, arrogance collapsing into desperation. People filmed him. Others whispered louder. My daughter cried silently. And that's when the final mistake came. He shouted, "I didn't marry your daughter to stay poor. I deserve that land." Gasps filled the room. My daughter stepped backward like someone had struck her. Her voice trembled as she asked, "So you never loved me?" It was all about the farm. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. His silence told the truth that destroyed her world. And in that moment, with every guest watching, with his own words hanging in the air like smoke after fire, everyone saw his true color. People expected me to explode, to shout, to call him out, to throw him out of the hall. But I didn't. My silence unsettled him more than any anger would have, because some men expect noise, but they never know what to do with calm. I looked at him steadily and said, "I'm not giving you the keys today, and I'll never give them to you as long as I breathe." He smirked, trying to save face. "Oh, you will? You don't want to lose your daughter, do you?" He still thought she stood with him. He still thought he controlled her. He still thought she was part of his plan. But for the first time, she stepped forward between him and me. Her voice was shaking, but firm. "If your love for me depends on land, then you never loved me in the first place." Her words cut deeper than anything I could have said. He froze. The tables turned. So quickly he couldn't keep up. He tried to grab her hand, but she pulled away. "No," she said. "Not after what you said. Not after what you planned." People nodded. Women murmured supportive phrases. Some men moved closer to me, not to fight, but to stand beside me. The groom looked around, confused. For the first time that night, he stood alone. He stepped closer to me again, still desperate, still refusing to accept defeat. "You can't do this. You can't turn her against me. This farm is part of our future." I gently placed my hand on the table and leaned in. "No," I said softly. "The farm is part of my past, and my daughter is my future. You try to take both." He spit bitterly. "You'll regret this." But I smiled. "No, you will." Because while he believed this confrontation would break me, he didn't know I had already started thinking ahead. Silence is not weakness. Calm is not surrender. Sometimes silence is strategy, and calm is preparation. And while he was busy shouting, humiliating himself, and revealing his intentions, I was watching, learning, planning, and I already knew This would not end at the wedding. No, this was just the first step. The real lesson, the real justice, the wedding ended early. There was no first dance, no cake cutting, no honeymoon send-off. People left in groups, whispering about what they had witnessed. My daughter refused to go home with him. She stayed with me that night, and while she cried in the next room, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of cold tea, piecing together everything he had revealed. He had spoken to buyers. He had made deals. He had plans to sell parts of my farm. He had admitted publicly that he married my daughter for money. He had said it all on camera because guests filmed him. The next morning, I started making calls. First, I contacted the buyers he had mentioned. The moment I explained who I was, they apologized. They had no idea he didn't own the farm. They had no idea he was negotiating on land that didn't belong to him. One of them even told me, he tried to convince us you were transferring ownership after the wedding. He was rushing the deal. Something fell off. That was enough. Next, I visited a lawyer, an old friend of my late wife. I explained everything. He listened carefully, then smiled and said, "You don't need revenge. You need documentation." He prepared a statement confirming, "My farm legally remains mine. No transfer was ever discussed or planned. Any deals made by my son-in-law had no legal standing. Anyone investing with him did, so at their own risk." Then he added something that made me nod with satisfaction. "And we can also file a protective agreement to ensure he can never claim ownership through marriage." By noon, the boy's entire scheme collapsed. By evening, his buyers withdrew completely. By night, he came to my farm, pounding on the door, shouting, "You ruined everything. Why did you interfere?" I stepped outside calmly. "You interfere with my family," I said. He ranted. He blamed me. He blamed everyone but himself. So I finally ended it. "I didn't expose you," I said. "You exposed yourself at your own wedding." He froze. "You revealed your greed, your intentions, your lies. I just made sure they were written down." He tried to push past me, but I blocked the door. "You're not stepping onto this land again. Ever." And then a voice behind me said firmly, "And you're not stepping into my life again. Ever." My daughter. She stood there with swollen eyes, trembling hands, but a steady voice. "This marriage is over." He begged. He argued. He promised he could change. But she walked away. And for the first time since the wedding, he understood the truth. He had destroyed his own life. Not me, not her, himself. In the weeks that followed, the wedding became the talk of the town. Not because of the decorations, not because of the food, not because of the celebration, but because of the moment everyone saw the groom reveal who he really was. People who once admired him avoided him. Friends distanced themselves. Business contacts cut ties. The buyers posted public statements about his dishonesty. His reputation collapsed faster than he could rebuild it. My daughter filed for an annulment. He tried to fight it, but the videos, the witnesses, the recordings, they spoke louder than his excuses. When the judge saw the footage of him shouting, "I didn't marry your daughter to stay poor," he didn't stand a chance. The marriage was dissolved. He left town soon after. Some say he moved to another city. Others say he tried starting a business that failed. I don't know. I don't need to know. What mattered was this. My daughter was safe. My farm was safe. My peace was safe. And slowly, she healed. She started drawing again. She began helping me with the farm. She found comfort in the routine she had grown up with. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, she whispered, "Dad, how did you stay so calm that day?" I took a slow breath. "Because anger closes your eyes," I said. "But calm lets you see clearly." She rested her head on my shoulder. "You always protect me," she said softly. I smiled. Sometimes protection isn't about shouting. Sometimes it's about letting someone destroy themselves with their own actions. She nodded, and in that silence, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief, not because I won, not because he lost, but because truth finally had. Looking back now, I realized something important. Something I wish every parent, every daughter, every son, every partner understood. People don't always reveal their true selves immediately. Some hide behind charm. Some hide behind confidence. Some hide behind love. But pressure, moments of tension, moments where they think they're winning, that's when the mask slips. My son-in-law didn't become greedy at the wedding. He had always been greedy. The wedding simply exposed him. And life taught me 3 lessons that day. 1, power doesn't come from property. It comes from principles. I didn't need wealth to protect my family. I needed clarity. I needed boundaries. I needed the courage to say no, even when people expected me to stay quiet. 2, love isn't proven by sacrifice. It's proven by respect. My daughter loved him deeply, but he didn't love her back. He loved what she gave him access to. Respect is the real foundation of love. Without it, everything falls apart. 3, revenge doesn't always require anger. Sometimes truth is enough. I didn't humiliate him. I didn't shout. I didn't plan to destroy his reputation. He destroyed himself. All I did was let the truth stand in the light. And sometimes that is the strongest revenge of all. My daughter is doing better now. Stronger, wiser, free. The farm still stands. The apricot tree my wife planted still blossoms. Life continues. And every time I lock the gate at night and feel the cool metal of the keys in my hand, I remember the day someone tried to take what he didn't earn. And I remember how wrong he was. Because the farm was never about money. It was never about security. It was never about ownership. It was about family. A family he never truly wanted to be a part of. And in the end, he lost everything. Not because I fought him, but because he showed the world his true colors. At his own way.